coffee down the street. It's a beautiful day. Come on, let's visit Mrs. Kane and Miss Jane. They always have something fun to say on Porch Stories today.
Hi, everyone. Hi. Welcome to another episode of Porch Stories. I'm Miss Jane.
And I'm Mrs. Kane.
And we're here to say hello and welcome you and make sure that you're doing safe and happy. And, well, we've just got lots of things to share with you today, so we're going to get started right away. Don't you think, Mrs. Kane?
Perfect. But before we start the story, we're going to do our 3-second mindful breathing.
Oh, I like that.
So, everyone, get ready.
Okay, I'm getting ready.
I'm going to get our singing bowl. All right, perfect.
Oh, that was lovely. I feel so much calmer every time you do that. What do we have today?
My hands sing the blues.
Why, I happen to have the actual jacket for the book. You know how I am about this.
She always takes it.
I do. A jacket is a protective paper cover over the actual hardcover of the book. So, Mrs. Kane, remind me again, what do we call this part of the book?
The front cover.
The front cover. What do we call this part of the book?
The spine.
Oh my gosh, just like people have. And what do we call this part of the book?
The back jacket.
The back of the jacket. Now, there's people who write books, and we call them the author. And who is the author today of our book?
Jean Walker Harvey.
Jean Walker. And who is the person who did the pictures or the illustrator?
Elizabeth Zunot.
Zunot. So we have an author and an illustrator. Miss Kane is going to read this book to us. Of course, I'll add my little art tidbits, Miss Kane. I'll try not to be too interruptive because this book has a really beautiful rhythm to it, don't you think?
Exactly. It almost like it says, sings to you.
Oh, I love that. A singing book.
Romare Bearden's Childhood Journey.
I like that. That's called the title page, isn't it? It kind of gives the
Yes.
title. And, you know, what I've noticed a lot of times is title pages sort of set the tone for the book. So I see on here some art supplies.
Has the title, the author, the illustrator, and the publishing company.
Oh, nice. Lots of good information.
This is the dedication page.
Oh, now that would be like if you wrote a book and you said, I'm dedicating this to my mom or my dog.
And that's what the author did for my mother, June.
Oh,
And the illustrator for her family.
how sweet.
Oh. And then they have a quote from Romare Bearden.
Oh.
You put down one color and it calls for an answer. You have to look at it like a melody.
I like that. Maybe someone here is singing the blues. I'm not sure.
I don't know.
It could be. All right, let's continue. Let's go with our story, Mrs. Kane.
I snip a patch of color and add a cutout face. Oh, I glue on jazzy blue for sky and another face. People walk into my work as if it's always been their place. My hands sing the blues when I paint and cut and paste. I never know what I'll create when I paint and cut and paste. I use paper, fabrics, photos, and nothing goes to waste.
So Romare Bearden, look at the picture right here. Romare Bearden worked in what we call the style of collage. And collage comes from the French, meaning to glue or to gum. Now, I don't think he used gum to stick things down, do you, Mrs. Kane?
No.
He probably used some type of glue, and I happen to have, this is a Mod Podge, which I got at Dollar Tree, and it's a glue that you can use to attach materials, and you could use this as a canvas, which is like a little fabric on a frame, and this is a stretcher. You could also do a collage on cardboard or paper, and what I've done is I've added pieces of tissue paper here with glue, and then I could go and I could layer on other pieces of paper. I could take paper and I could tear it and glue it down. I could even add pieces from, like, say, a magazine. Like, maybe I got a great idea, Mrs. Kane. I don't know, but right? I have a good idea here. We'll talk later about collage, but it's really important, I think, for this particular artist to sort of understand, well, the way he was working, and it kind of inspires the way that he thinks, or reflects the way that he thinks. Okay, now I won't interrupt as much.
Today, my memory whirls back to my North Carolina past. Swirling days of hot July, picking berries in my past. Just then a train roars across my campus with a loud and steamy blast.
I love in this picture, you can kind of see the artist, and at his table are all of the kinds of things he would use to make his artwork. And I feel like he's doing like a little trip down memory lane.
I'm back as a boy, talking with great-grandma down the old dirt road. I'm walking with great-grandma down the old dirt road to the land of the Cherokees, from where her stories flow. Rocking on her creaky swing, we hear the crickets chirp. We feel the humming of Magnolia Mill and hear the crickets chirp. We gulp down warm tomato slices, trying not to slurp.
Oh my goodness, eating warm tomatoes is just one of my favorite foods. Warm tomatoes and fresh peaches.
In the summertime,
Two of the best summer foods ever.
riding up on great-grandpa's shoulders, I'm a strong and mighty tower. My chin rests on his head. I'm a strong and mighty tower. We're watching the good trains go by, hour after hour.
I love that he's riding piggyback on his grandpa.
Back on the shoulder.
Oh, yeah, the shoulders, because that would be, piggyback is down here at the waist. You're right.
We know every train by its swinging whistle tune. Each engine plays a different whistle tune, like the Atlanta-New York special sizzling through at noon. The chains chat-chuck on by. Woo, 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 woo. One more round of whistles. Woo, 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 woo. Wah, wah, dee-doo. Whirl, whirl, dee-whirl. Wah, wah, dee-woo. Woo, woo.
I actually have a wooden train whistle. I'll have to look for that. And they do all have a different sound.
Then one day I'm waiting on a bench for a train to roll on in. Mom and Pop and me were waiting for a train to roll on in to take us to New York, where our new life will begin.
So he grew up, or actually lived the first 4 or 5 years of his life in North Carolina, which is viewed as coastal South, and they are moving to New York. And they're moving to an area in New York called Harlem. And this is a great journey because he's really leaving behind what he views as his family roots, and everything that he's known in his short little life, he's leaving behind. So it could be a little bit scary.
From the south to the north, many more have gone before me. Riding on the railroads, many more have gone before me, waiting to be free like the wind blows through a tree.
Oh, that's a beautiful line there. I'm loving how this book feels a little bit like poetry to me, Mrs. Kane. Are you getting that feeling?
There's a lot of rhyming words.
A lot of rhyming words in this.
From somewhere down the track, I can hear that whistle blow. I tap my toes to the beat and hear that whistle blow. Whoa-de-whoa. The locomotive slides in slow.
Oh, my goodness.
Lifting luggage up the stairs, the Pullman porter nods at us. Standing by the sleeping cars, the Pullman porter smiles at us. But we can't go in the sleeping cars, and we're not to make a fuss.
So this was a time in the United States when there were still things called segregation. And this means they would separate people for just the craziest reasons. It could be skin color, it could be nationality. It was not a just law, but it was at the time, and I'm so glad that things have changed from that.
Me too. Tears sting my eyes when I hear the call, all aboard! I hug great-grandma and great-grandpa, then I climb aboard. I settle in my seat and wonder what we're traveling toward.
Oh my goodness, and he was just 4 years old.
I think he was really, really close to his great-grandma.
I think so. The fact that he spends the first part of this whole book dedicating a page to each of them, I think it shows what an impact that they had on his life.
Tink-a-tink, tink-a-tink. The engine picks up speed. Canuck, canee, tink-a-tink, tink-a-tink. Bye-bye, Trade Street Station. Canuck, canee. With a thrumming and a drumming, the train hums a tune to me.
Oh, so it's probably kind of comforting, though, to hear that like repeated rhythm.
Okay, I kind of wonder if you've ever ridden on a train when it's going down the tracks.
That's true.
It has that sound.
And then it picks up speed as you get further along.
Yes.
Yeah.
I press my nose against the glass and watch the world whizzing by. A patchwork quilt of greens and golds, the world whizzing by. Farms and fields of cotton, roosters pecking bugs nearby.
And I just saw a great connection with when he said quilts, and quilts are a way that you piece together bits of fabric, and collage can almost be viewed as a paper way of making a quilt. So it's a really nice connection in that.
I spy a woman by a washtub staring up at me. I wonder what she's thinking, staring up at me. Maybe that tomorrow, so far away, I'll be.
Those were probably people that he had seen all his life.
The train glides us up to Harlem, New York City. That's where I am right now, painting what's inside of me, sharing stories of my past and the joys and fears inside of me.
Oh my goodness. So he moved to Harlem, New York. His family lived in a place in which, well, it was what they called the Harlem Renaissance. And a Renaissance means rebirth. And his parents were in the middle of this exciting energy that was happening in the city of Harlem, in which there were artists, musicians, poets. His Kane, there were theater events, all of them moving forward to bring to the forefront the Black experience in America. And it was just a dynamic time.
Well, and it just goes to show that a lot of artists paint their emotions.
You are right. Oh, absolutely.
So if he's happy, he does happy stuff. If he's sad, or scared, it comes out in your artwork.
Absolutely.
Like a flower, I have roots in my Carolina past. Roots sink deep in my childhood long past. The people and the places are in my art to last.
There you go. Just like what you were talking about, your feelings and emotions. And that's a way, even after you've left this world, your art, your music, your poetry can stay around and inspire other people.
When I begin something new, I take it slow and steady. I let myself become my art and take it slow and steady. I'll lag behind the beat until I'm sure I'm ready. I want my art to touch each of us so we can understand. I want to follow roads from secret places so we can understand that the blues sing for each of us all across the land. I'm like a singer calling out, then holding back. I'm like a trumpet player blowing loud, then dropping back. When I put a beat of color on an empty canvas, I never know what's coming down the track.
And all those references were music references. Jazz and blues are the most American music we have. And during the Harlem Renaissance, that was the birth of the blues and jazz as well. And for him to kind of mirror that in that book, I just think it's beautiful.
And he referenced a lot of train.
Exactly.
Words, coming down the track.
Exactly. Moving forward, clickety-clack, going faster, slower, and the music rhythms with that. And some of his artwork, like this, is a drum picture here, and it definitely reflects kind of a lot of the feelings of jazz music of the time. But he also had a painting, and this one is folk musicians. And this is one of his most famous pieces in squash and painting. And this is owned by the Virginia Museum of Fine Art. And it's often compared to Picasso's Four Musicians. So what do we have in our library, Ms. Kane, if students are interested in learning more about Romare Bearden?
If you want to learn more about Romare Bearden, it's Romare Bearden, Collage of Memories by Jan Greenberg. We have this particular book in our library, and it can be checked out.
Now, would that be in fiction or nonfiction? Where would we find this?
Where do you think?
I don't know. Why don't you tell us?
Okay, it's a biography.
Biography, that's right.
And it's not an autobiography.
He didn't write it himself.
Nope. Jan Greenberg did.
She wrote it.
And so it would be in the 921s. All biographies written by someone else, but
About someone real.
Someone real would be in the 921s, and it would be under the first three letters of the last name of the person that's about.
It's about, not who wrote it.
No.
Nice. So all the Bearden books would be together, but they could be by different people.
Yes. Okay, so we have this book called Lil Dan, the Drummer Boy. It's a Civil War story. This is the one and only book that was written and illustrated by Romare Bearden.
Oh my gosh. So the artist that we just read about, who's known for his collage and paintings, also wrote and illustrated a book.
This one particular book for children.
Gosh, he is multi-talented, almost like we'd call a Renaissance man.
Yes, and what's really cool about this book is it comes with a CD, and Maya Angelou narrates.
Maya Angelou is very famous, and her voice, I would say, it's one of those voices, Mrs. Kane, that you just want to listen to all the time.
And it's, you won't get it mixed up with anybody else's.
No. A unique signature voice.
Yes.
Oh, what a treasure that we have in our library. Thank you. I'm going to give you this back.
Okay.
I'm going to share just a couple little art connections now. Okay? Because I really think you might be wondering why Mrs. Kane and I are dressed like this. We kind of thought about how this book takes the country boy and moves him to the big city. And it did kind of remind us a little bit of those stories of the country mouse and the city mouse and that type of thing. And because this story takes place, 1920s he's moving, 1930s and 40s was the Harlem Renaissance, but Romare Bearden lived until the 1980s. And so Mrs. Kane is kind of the city mouse over here. I'm the country cousin right over here. And a lot of things were happening in art during this time, and we had a type of art referred to as regionalism. And this painting behind me, American Gothic, is very famous. It's got the grumpy old farmer and his wife, and they look a bit sour and dour, done by the artist Grant Woods. And it's referred to as American Gothic because the window behind it is Gothic architecture. But what I was really excited about is when I saw this new version of American Gothic, and this painting is done by Kadir Nelson, and he is an American artist who created this painting, and he did it on a larger size canvas. He created it as an inspiration, as inspired by American Gothic, but he views it as a new American Gothic. And you see here an African American family. They're standing in front of their house. They've got their grandmother with them. They've got the American flag. And it just shows that something old can become something new again. Now, we've introduced you to the artist Romare Bearden. There were lots of artists working at this time. He was also friends with the artist Jacob Lawrence, and they shared a studio together. And we'll talk more about Mr. Jacob Lawrence at another time. At the end of this little moment, we will have a special little segment that will kind of give you a little more information about collage. I would like to end with saying that Romare Bearden, to me, Mrs. Kane, is sort of an American treasure. I feel like not enough people know about his artwork. But back here is a picture of him if you want to know what he looks like right there. And he was supposed to have had a lot of cats in his studio, too. And look how happy he looks right there. What a happy gentleman. We actually have one of his collage pieces. Now, not Miss Kane and I, at the Crocker Museum here in Sacramento City. So when you can get out and about again, visit the Crocker Museum. So for now, from the front lines and the front porch, this is a so long from Miss Jane
and Mrs. Kane. See you next time.
Walking down the street, it's a beautiful day. Come on, let's visit Mrs. Kane and Miss Jane. They always have something fun to say on Porch Stories today.